Welcome to the Sedona Soul Sisters Show. We offer you down-to-earth discussions on metaphysics, paranormal, and spiritual topics.
So the Sedona Soul Sisters are myself, Rosalind Reynolds, Ivory Angelic, and Melissa Brace. And we are in our offices here in Sedona, Arizona, where we see clients from all over the world.
Today's topic is transmuting fear and coming into trust. If you have any questions or comments on today's topic, we love to hear from you. You can type it in the chat at the bottom.
And poor Melissa. She's got a voice thing going today, but she is a trooper. She's doing it anyway. Oh boy, that fear topic, that's something we've been discussing a lot here because it seems like especially our country right now and other countries as well are mired in fear. And it seems like it's encouraged on a lot of different levels to make you more and more afraid. Well, what happens when you get into that state of fear and you freeze is what happens. You freeze and nothing happens. So we decided we would do this show today to just try to give you some pointers on getting out of that. And Roz, you had some good thoughts about that.
Well, I'm a great believer in tapping into our faith and our trust in our guidance and in the angels that are around us, our spirit guides. I talk to Jesus and my angel Michael that's been with me since I was little. So for me, it's about holding your ground in the faith that you know that you are being guided and protected. And of course, that sounds easy, but it does require a fair amount of work. I myself spend a certain amount of time every day in prayer and affirmation because it helps me retain my focus and it helps me realize that when I really tune in, I can feel that I'm never alone. I'm always protected.
I think that's huge. I think that's absolutely the center point. When a client comes to me and I can feel that they are really stuck in a place of fear, the first thing I'm going to talk to them about is their angelic guides and the fact that they have that team with them that team is focused on you and trying to help you through this, and they will not drop the ball on you. So I know for myself, when I find myself starting to worry too much or fretting about something, I will stop myself and say, my team has gotten me this far and I know they're not going to drop the ball on me now. And then I feel a great sense of peace come over me. This works for me personally for my own life issue as well as what's going on in the world. I mean, it can be a small scale or a huge scale.
You know, for me, as a seer, like I see the energy around, circumstances and people and clients and myself, sometimes, hopefully myself, that's the tough one. And I also always go back to prayer and asking for a lot of love from God and our angels around us and to sweep away some of the what looks like structures of energy around us when we have a lot of fear. And sometimes just simply asking, even if you just can't even feel strong enough to do anything, just asking for help seems to sweep away the structures of fear around us, including like news stories or personal daily life stories. Just asking for a little help.
I agree.
And I think the other thing too is when I talk to people about what they are actually afraid of, it's the fear of the unknown. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I can't really tell what's going on. So I don't know, what might occur, not just only in their own life, but worldwide, like we're discussing. So I think tapping into a state with your heart, with your spirit of prayer and intense focus on seeing the outcome too that you want. Don't manifest and focus on what you don't want.
Absolutely.
Because that just builds on itself and then we can really get ourselves terrified. So, and it's pretty scary.
It's true that sometimes, okay, so you're afraid of what might happen, But if you're afraid of something that hasn't even happened, it might be a good thing that happens. So we're worrying and we're being fearful of something that may or may not happen at all. Sometimes in our lives and in the world, something happens and it feels like it's a bad thing. It feels really scary, but it leads to something amazing. And I've seen that happen again and again. And I feel like that can be very true on a world scale as well, countrywide scale, that things are not always what they seem, in a good way.
And that's the faith. I mean, that is the faith, that even though things are going on, we're having to deal with challenges, we're watching other people, and, the faith that in the long run, we will find the resources, find it within ourselves, and find our ability to tap into our angels and guides and feel them showing us the way. And usually, everybody gets scared. So, I've had times where I was thinking, oh no, what's going to happen next? And we all do it. And especially when I was younger, I did. And I think a part of that is asking, show me where I need to be with this, help me. And I think when we focus on the faith and that feeling of love that surrounds us when we are in prayer and affirmation, all of a sudden, boom, we're grounded. That's the peace.
It is. And it is what Roz said. It's a lot of work. I know for myself, I can only really speak for myself because I don't live in anybody else's body. Aren't you glad about that? It would be weird. But for myself, I know it's a constant. I catch myself getting into worrying or getting into fear. And I have to consciously stop myself again and say, think about what Roz was saying. What do I want to happen? What's the outcome that would be in my best interest? And I see that so vividly in my head. I make it real and alive because that's what I want to tell the universe that I want. That's the outcome I'm looking for. So I certainly don't want to tell the universe I want more of something negative. So you can do that for yourself. You can do that about politics. You can do that about any issue in the world. Yes, there is concrete things about going in and putting in your time and effort to help with situations, but this is something you as an individual can do for your life, and it really improves the world. Because what we're thinking about, what we're intending as the people on this planet, we're all one, lifts the vibrations of the planet, lifts us out of fear.
And creates an energy, too.
Uplifts the frequency so we can all feel it. We can all feel the hope. We can all kind of hold hands, even if we don't know our neighbors down the street. We can kind of be connected to each other in the hope and peace and the upliftment.
And I think one thing that kind of gets you into the fear is this us against them. No matter who them is, there is no them. We're all us. So what we do happens to everybody. What we think happens to everybody. What we intend happens to everybody. So when we start thinking globally of what do we want for this planet? What do we want as a people for this planet? Do we want to be led into a position of fear? Do we want to live terrified and worried all the time? I choose not to. I choose not to. And I'm finding little by little, and these ladies will tell you, like, I'm the worrier of the group. And so it's a real challenge for me. Like, seriously, I know what my faults are. I will be the first to tell you. And I know I've made great progress because there's times lately that I before would have been a wreck. And I feel very serene. And I can't explain why, except that my angels are helping me. My angels are really helping me to avoid getting into that place. And I'm getting into a habit of not sinking into fear and worry.
I think the word habit is a good point too, because worrying and fretting can become a pattern that we reinstate anytime, we lose our focus and lose our direction. And I know for myself, I do a couple of things when I am in a mode of prayer and affirmation and talking to, my angels, guides. I'm very focused at that time on how I'm breathing. So I'm doing breath work. I mean, it's just simple. It's deep breath in, blow it out. Sounds pretty trite, but actually that has a huge effect on our emotional state, our body chemistry, our brain chemistry. Everything starts to calm down. So there are definitely little tools that you can develop to help yourself through these times. And I was a pretty wound up little kid and youngster. So, fortunately I was taught, basically by my mom, like, okay, get calm, start to think good thoughts, do some deep breathing, amazing. Those little tools that you have that you can utilize every day in your life.
Back to basics.
Yes.
Kind of back to basics. Breath are simple tools, and when we can't find anything else that will help, just 1 second in prayer, 1 second. And I love it when, clients or friends or family will text me or call me and say, can you just, I don't want to tell you what it's about, but will you just pray for me and, my family or the circumstance? And like, I write it on a little paper and I put it underneath my little prayer rock. And that just makes a difference. And I know that occasionally I ask, my office mates, my friends, when I'm having trouble, when I'm scared, when I'm mad or sad, can you help me? Because I can't see it for myself today. And so that we help each other sometimes in that as well. And that's extremely beneficial to me.
And that's really a good point too, because when you are experiencing extreme fear, just reaching out to someone else and saying, hey, can you give me a hand here?
Like
can you help me?
Check.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes people just need to touch base and feel that solidarity, with your friends and your family, and be focused on the fact that, hey, we're working through this. We're moving through. These are the things we see. These are the things that we know are true. So very powerful.
And sometimes when you reach out to somebody, they might say, I think you're worrying about nothing. I think you're really working yourself into a frenzy for no good, no reason. And that's good to hear too, because like Melissa said, when you're in it, you can't see it for yourself. That's true for all of us. I don't care who you are. I don't care how psychic you are. When you're in it, it's very hard to get a good read on it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question from Christine. It says, do you have any advice about saging your home? This year was abnormally tougher than usual, and I am a big believer in energies. I saged the other day asking for my guides and angels to help.
Hi, Christine. Yeah, we all have some good advisement on that. We are all, interested in that as well, doing that at our own homes. I love the sage some. It gets a little smelly for me. So I use also salt and things like holy water and prayers. Yeah, I think it can be very powerful, even when it's hard, like we said, to focus.
I like to use Palo Santo, burning Palo Santo, because it doesn't have such a strong smell. I've got severe allergies, so sometimes the sage really knocks it out. But whatever you use, whether it's burning sage, burning Palo Santo, or oils, it's really about your intent and the prayers. If you go around and say anything that is not of the light, that is not of my best and highest good, may not enter this property or this home, and you're just covering every door, every window, and you're leaving your windows open while you do this, I think that's very powerful.
I don't actually burn anything due to long lifetime of allergies and respiratory adventures, but I do use a lot of oils. And my favorites are frankincense, lavender. Occasionally I work with people who, like myself, cannot burn anything inside their home. So I find that you sometimes maybe just placing some water with a few drops of oil in it in a cup in 2 or 3 different locations in the house. It's very powerful, because these are aromas that do elevate the frequencies.
Yeah, you don't want to be afraid in your own home. More than anything, you don't want to be afraid in your own home.
And I also like to take charge, control. So when we're afraid, sometimes that falls apart. Our energy falls apart. And so I like to say things like, I am a sovereign being, and only 100% pure divine love is allowed in my space and my family space. And that seems to kind of ground me and swoosh out anything negative, and it's really powerful as well. Sometimes I read a little Bible verse in my prayer when I'm doing clearing or cleansing as well. That helps me a lot.
There's a lot of different ways to do this, and we actually have some articles about this on our blog, on our website, on SedonaSoulSisters.com, so you can check that out. And there's some extensive articles on that topic that'll give you some ideas. Any other?
That was it.
Are we out?
Just one question.
Okay.
Well, I think one important thing to remember through all of this is I over the years have been able to help a lot of people who were experiencing events going on around them that instigated the fear. And when you're in a chaotic or very frightening situation, you can really become scattered so quickly. So always, I think it's helpful to be within your balance point, to come back to that, and to, I pray a lot. So, I mean, just coming back to that touchstone for yourself, I think, is very, very powerful. Another thing I think that is helpful for me, because I am so psychometric with my hands, as I can go into a fear mode. So sometimes I have a piece of amethyst that I will hold, or a piece of quartz, and I just place my hands around it while I'm praying in the shape of prayer hands, have the stone in the middle. Because for me, just grounding to something from the earth and feeling that calmness is pretty intense. And the fear begins to dissipate immediately. So
I think something Ross said is really important there too. Like, no matter what's happening in your life, you have a choice. If you're really afraid, you can either let it break you down, or you can help that build you up and be stronger. You're going to stand up to it. You're going to learn how to conquer that fear. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what that challenge is laid out before us. And it's not easy, but it is very good for our self-growth if we choose that route. And you can. Anybody can choose to get stronger.
I'm seeing that a lot, not only in myself, but others, clients as well, where there's deep wounding. It might be from second grade, and we're many decades past second grade, coming up in our energies and sort of kind of in the mirror in our lives. And so that's also releasing. And so as we can kind of blow it out and come back into, like we said, grounding and back into our faith, and trust in the next answers that are with us is really good for me.
I do believe there's a plan. I believe there's a plan out there. And I'm talking specifically about world events right now, our country and world events. I believe that there is a plan. And how it gets there, how it gets to the plan, can be a mystery to us. It can be confusing. It can be deceiving. And yet the plan is there. And so, in some way, you have to come to that point. It keeps coming back. Ross said it. I said it. Melissa said it. A point of faith. What brings you back to that point of faith and balance in yourself?
And it's deep. I mean, that's the other thing. It's once you tap into that, it's deep within. Fear overwhelming you is definitely a huge challenging issue, but just the step beyond that fear is that deep knowing that we feel. It's really clairsentience, where we feel that knowing of, hey, I'm going to be okay. I'm being surrounded in light and love, and I'm feeling that surround me. So,
and sometimes it's against, like, everything that's happening in your life. You'll be like, mentally you'll be thinking, I wonder why I feel so calm about this. Why do I feel like everything's going to be okay? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And yet you just know it is. So it's a beautiful thing to develop that. And you were going to say something.
It is.
I go back to, this is a very serious one, but I go back to 9/11 when my phone started ringing and people kept saying, turn on the TV. And that just immediately you saw on the television and the ticker tapes and the just fear. And I psychically, just energetically knew like, this is the beginning of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I could feel the energy in everybody's muscles being clenched. And it was from that point on, I tried to pray for peace, love, whatever the highest good in every circumstance was for each day. Have you guys ever heard where the story about where they put monks or a giant prayer group in different parts of a city, and they send them to like the really tough parts, or maybe where nobody has anything to eat, or maybe they're all doing a lot of drugs, little dangerous places, and they pray and they sit and pray just quietly, and like crime goes down. People start getting along with each other. Statistics are more smooth. And I decided on 9/11, in the midst of the chaos and fear and the tragedy, grief also brings us into fear, that why couldn't I make a difference? Why couldn't I just?
Why can't you be a monk?
Why can't I be a monk with a little, a little fluff to my hair? Why can't I do that? And so I did, in different times where different people will, ask for things, or different things going on in my community or our countries, our world, ask for prayers, and just envisioning light surrounding circumstances, people, all kinds of things, buildings, neighborhoods, whatever's going on. And I love that. And I know you ladies also do something like that as well. I don't know exactly what your way of doing it is, but there's no need for us to hold on to a mass consciousness fear.
There's that saying, there's not, violence does not end violence. Fear does not end fear. You kind of have to flip it on its edge and go, despite whatever's happening, I'm going to do something that maybe seems counterintuitive to everybody else. And yet that's exactly what it takes to bust up that negative energy. And enough of us do that. And there's huge changes ahead. And lots of people are doing this. So that's the beautiful thing. It's not just us three Sedona Soul Sisters here. Many thousands of people are doing this on a daily basis now. And you can too. You can help.
I got another question from Christine.
Hi, Christine.
We like her curiosity.
The question is, I have these fears you are talking about. How do I know if my fears are warnings of what's yet to come, or just being conscious of past failures?
Even if they are warnings of what is to come, write it down in a diary somewhere and then try to forget it, because even if it's a warning, if it's not for you specifically, what can you as one woman do to stop that event? You can do what we've been talking about. You can put yourself in a position of trust and prayer and balance, and not let yourself be drawn in. So we do have dreams and visions of things that are on large scale events that are going to happen. If we let ourselves go into fear on that, we'd be messes. We'd probably be institutionalized. But you have to just still find that place of balance within yourself.
And I think too, sometimes when we do have these visions, premonitions, etc., that's a warning to, hey, direct energy to this. So take it a step further and be proactive with it. Because I feel like a lot of the things that we are shown are kind of like a little wake-up call. Hello, see the light, pray for peace, pray for, resolution, overcome. Because we have, like you were saying, we have this amazing worldwide telepathic spiritual connection amongst all of ourselves. And if we choose to put ourselves into that frequency, feel that, connect with others, the power of our energy is amazing, the change we can create.
And I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention this earlier, it takes your energy to worry. So energy for worrying is taking your energy, and it's not going to help anything. Why not instead channel that energy into prayers and trust, affirmations, visualization of positive outcomes? You got that energy. You put it into worrying that does no good and drags you down into fear, or put it into prayers, affirmations, trust, sending energy, healing energy to the situation.
You know, sometimes when Christine, when I get overwhelmed and feel, you possibly could be really empathic and feeling others' energies, or, you know, what I call mass consciousness, you know, the world's pains and circumstances. And sometimes when I can't focus, because I would say I am the most ADHD out of the three of us, sometimes I carry around literally dollar store notebooks. And when I cannot focus and I feel the fear, what am I supposed to do? How can I do this? And I am very scattered. I will start writing, and writing down my prayers, or asking Archangel Michael, for instance, or Gabriel, for instance, or Jesus to help me. And immediately it can kind of go back into some peace, release maybe the mass consciousness or whatever I'm empathing. And that really helps a lot. And I become clear on what steps I can take, or if I can't, what I can start praying for, or how I can visualize, you know, healthy, happy, loving surroundings.
Powerful.
I
Very
think that's
powerful.
important, because if you're empathic, and all three of us are, sometimes it's really important, often it's important to try to determine what is your emotions and what are you picking up of other people's, and learn how to put some boundaries around that. There's times when feeling everybody else's emotions is crippling. And in those things like 9/11, that was a crippling moment for me. That was one of the episodes that led me to learning how to set boundaries around this. But that is absolutely critical, so that you're only dealing with your feelings. So something else to think about. You only want to deal with your own fear, not the whole world's fear.
There, you got about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
You know, another part for me on this subject is to remind myself that I'm not behind. Like everyone else isn't know more than I do. I'm not last. I'm not bad. And so just to keep reminding myself internally of that as well. So Christine, you're not behind. You're not last. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but to remind you that we all go through these things. We all have moments. We all have bouts and bursts, and we all are learning how to come back into our balanced divine state.
I think the fact that you're asking these questions says you're ready to move forward with this. You know, you're very curious about it. You have questions. You want to know about it. So now you can start putting this into action, because you can read all the books in the world. You can take seminars and classes, but it's what you do on a daily basis that changes, that raises your vibrations, that changes you and improves you and moves you ahead. So you can come up with your own daily practice, and I think you'll do really well.
Awesome idea.
Awesome. And I say, how about this? Let's send out a wave, all of us, to all of you and all of our friends and family and loved ones, of love and peace and joy and all that's good.
Done.
So on that note, thanks for watching us today on the Sedona Soul Sisters Show.
But tune in next week, because our topic will be finding your mission. We hope you have an enlightening week. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Go
guys.
to our website.
I got skipped, so I went back.
It's all right.
So Christine had one more question, but we ran out of time.
We like her.
Is our mic still on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Hello. Hi, Christine.
Thank you, Christine.
We can answer you in the chat room.